Well, boils and ghouls, it's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to welcome my good fiends of the Horror Heals podcast. Is horror good for mental wellness? But of course it is. I delight in the delicious deaths of pitiful people on the silver screen. So get ready for a hell of a good time with my new fiends, Corey and Kendall, on the Horror Heals podcast.
Welcome back, horror fam, to Horror Heals, the show where we celebrate the spooky, embrace the terrifying, and prove again and again that horror isn't just entertainment, it's community. Today, we've got an incredible story of friendship, fandom, and found family. Our guests, Leighann, Vinnie, Amber, and Steve, didn't just meet because they love horror, they bonded over it. And at the heart of that connection, filmmakers Adam Green and Joe Lynch. If you've ever found yourself in a live chat at a con, or even just obsessing over a movie with strangers online, only to realize, these are my people, then this episode is for you. So let's dive in and hear how this group came together, why Adam and Joe inspire such passion, and what it really means when horror heals. All right, gang, welcome to Horror Heals. We've got Amber, Leighann, Vinnie, and Steve. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So, Leighann, maybe you can kick it off and let us know how you all know each other.
Well, I know we all have different stories from how we got here. For me, it was back in, I believe, 2010 at Rock and Shock. I had met Adam Green for the first time. I was a huge fan of Hatchet already at that point. I just remember him being the nicest, kindest person I ever met in my whole life. Really, my favorite person I ever met at a con. After that, I hooked. Anything he put out, I would go watch it. When Holliston came out, he did a sneak peek at the high school. Me and my group of friends went to that, and we all just became really close. And then in 2014 at Rock and Shock, I actually wound up a guest star doing a table read with the cast as Maureen Lipschitz, Adam's ex-girlfriend.
I actually was stocking shelves at Hollywood Video, and somebody, and this was like back in like 2008, and somebody I worked with was like, "You got to check out this movie." And at that point, I was already trying to make my own films, but not getting very far. Come to find out, maybe 2013 or 14, when I was in the middle of some of the worst filmmaking story I could possibly tell you. This project took 5 years to make, and we were on like year 3 of having to recast and restart. And at one point, location we had it secured and agreed and signed, and then we show up and find a construction crew tearing it down. I mean, like, that, there's stuff you just can't even imagine. But like, I thought I was at the worst possible point. And then I find this podcast that this guy named Adam and this other guy named Joe are doing. And they have other filmmakers on that had even worse stories than mine. And it kind of showed me that it wasn't the universe hating me. This is just how it is. And it gave me the strength to keep going and finish the film, which actually won a dumb little award. Like, that's pretty much where I got involved. And from that point on, I've been a champion or listener or patron of Movie Crypt. Joe and Adam have actually used some of my artwork in the show. They've become good friends over the years. Vinnie and I actually went down to go see Joe at Tribeca when Suitable Flesh, Joe Lynch's most recent film, was playing.
So, Vinnie, how did you get to know Adam and Joe?
My cousin actually introduced me to Hatchet because we were both big Friday the 13th fans and fans of Kane Hodder, of course. And he came up and he's like, "Oh, you got to see this new movie, Hatchet, with Kane Hodder, and he's playing a different character and all." And started watching Hatchet, became a fan of the Hatchet series, of course. And then when they came out with Holliston, I watched Holliston on FearNet, like back in whatever 2013, I guess it was, and just became a fan of both of them. I went to see Digging Up the Marrow when he came out with it in New York. He did a screening. Him and Alex Pardee were there, and then discovered the podcast and didn't even know. I wasn't really like, what's the word? Technically smart, I guess, to know what a podcast was or how to even get on to listen to it. Figured it out, and the rest is history. And then we've come to become all good friends with all these people in the chat, in the Patreon. Me and Steve went to go see the movie. Me and Amber met at a con last year. I met Leighann up in Massachusetts last year.
And I was just grateful that you were.
Yeah.
I was grateful you were able to come see me too. That meant a lot to me.
Yeah, I stopped and saw Leighann first, and then I went to the con and I met up with Patty and Jason, and we hung out the whole night, meeting people and just hanging out. It was fun. I hope to go again this year.
But Amber, where did your appreciation for Adam and Joe come from?
Pretty sure I had first seen Adam's movie Frozen, and I usually don't watch the extras on movies, but I happened to check this one out, and Adam was just so sincere and detailed, and it was just so interesting to hear him talk about behind the scenes stories and how they did it and how it was difficult and things like that. And so I just sort of went looking and followed him and found Hatchet and found the podcast. And just, again, it was the sincerity that really drew me in. And, back when it first started, I was listening pretty religiously every week. I'm way behind now. But I try to join the live events, at least now, that are in the Patreon tiers. I met Adam in person years ago at Monster Mania. I think really I don't even know what year it was, but it was kind of before I feel like I had got to know him and Joe.
Was that when they did the Yorkie rescue, Amber? When he auctioned off the Hatchet and everything?
I think it might have been the one in Jersey.
Yeah, that's the one I went to too when I first met him.
Okay.
I want to say it was 2014.
2014? Okay. That sounds right. Yeah, 13, 14, something like that. And then finally got to meet him again last year, which is where I met Vinnie in person as well. Haven't met Steve or Leighann yet in person, but hopefully someday we can get together for something.
Come to Silver Screen this year.
It took me a few extra years to meet Joe, but the first time I met Adam, I was actually doing for my own movie and my self-release of Dead Burger and Abomination Films in general. We had a booth at Rock and Jock in Worcester. And although Rock and Jock isn't around anymore, Silver Screen's kind of like taking over the hole where Rock and Jock was. I knew Adam was there, and I was outside in the employee smoking area or whatever. But I was out there, and he happened to walk by, and he goes, "Hey, nice shirt." Later on in the day, I managed to actually cross paths with him. "Hi, I'm Steve Rock." "Oh, you're the guy in the chat. That's awesome." And had a quick conversation. And then Kane Hodder came and stole him away from me because they had a panel. It was the first time I ever met Kane, and I was like, "You're a big guy. Yeah, you go ahead and fake him. No problem." I've got 2 projects I'm working on right now, and I've kind of been going on silent mode since COVID, really, because I thought I was going to be making a project during COVID, and COVID came, and you can't have 5 people in a small location with no masks. You just can't. So that got put on hold. We shot something else. It didn't really work out well because it's not what we wanted to be shooting. So I've started again, and I have a new project coming, but I've kind of been not too public about stuff only because nothing's ready yet. So hopefully this year everything finally finishes up and I can start getting on my loudspeaker and on my soapbox again.
So let me make sure I understand this right. So you guys you're in the chat for the podcast, and that's pretty much how you all met?
Yeah, they do. He does 2 live shows a month in our Patreon tier. So while we're listening or watching them, we're in the chat to the side talking too. So that's how we all met.
Vinnie, were you around? Were you around during the Corona apocalypse days? I feel like that's where we met first.
Yeah, I was there every day almost because I was working from home at the time. And
Adam and Joe did a thing, mostly Adam, but some Joe. They did a thing during the coronavirus lockdowns where I think it was something like, was it like 60 days? How long did Adam manage to keep going?
It was a good month.
But like he literally went every single day with either short films that they had done, episodes of the Holliston TV show, commentaries to Hatchet 1, 2, 3, Picture Crowley, all the movies, behind the scenes features and stuff. He was doing live stream shows for like, I don't know, something like 8 hours a day for what felt like 2 months. And like he was basically just trying to keep everyone going crazy. And we all got pretty close being in that chat and talking to each other every single day. We all got pretty close to him that. And then when he finally finished it, I tried to go one more day because I didn't have much, but I did a commentary with my film and a few shorts. And it was the only thing I could do. But I was like, all right, guys, I got one day. I can get us one more.
I think that's when you and I became like very close friends. And what I remember the most about the days of COVID, I mean, I was an essential worker. I worked the whole time. I work in retail, but we're considered an emergency store. So we were running and working 40 hours a week during a pandemic where we didn't know anything about it. We didn't know how it was going to affect people. My boss wasn't very copacetic at the time. Like, I remember I can't wait to get home every day. I would run right up to my bedroom, flip the laptop on, and see what everybody was up to. And it was such a life-saving thing for me to be able to hang out with you guys after the worst year of my life. I lost a lot of people during COVID, not to COVID, but I felt like loved ones were it was awful. And you guys helped me through that so much. And I told Adam that numerous times because it more to me
same
than
here.
words.
My dad passed away from COVID. So I was watching, I forget what it was that day. And that's when I got the call. So again, like Leighann said, you guys all helped me get through that, which was obviously very tough.
And I'm just so grateful that we have been starting to meet up in person, and those hugs we wanted to give each other are being given now. It's just fantastic. I love you guys.
I can't thank you guys enough for letting me vent a lot of my frustration with that. I can't yell at an actual relative. I can't cause trouble. But good Lord, would I want to right now? So it's, not only like helping me currently, but my father just passed away December 22nd. So it's very recent. And they've been so cool about letting me vent or tell stories about him where I can't say all this stuff to people in my real life because it could cause ripples that make bigger problems. But these guys have been very kind about letting me say whatever the hell I need to.
Well, it's inspiring to see, like, now that we're out of COVID, like, we're starting to hear about some of the positive things that came out of it. Obviously, we all went through, traumatic events, but, to come through on the other side now and to have made these connections that got you through this horrible time. And then now B, it's like, how great is it to make new friends and be able to meet up with people in person that you've only seen online? I think it's really, really cool. What is it about Adam and Joe you think that drives this kind of passion from the horror community? What is it about their work or them as people?
I think Amber said it before. It's their sincerity. Like, they're literally the most fan-friendly people you could ever meet. And we all consider them friends of ours because they love us and we love them. I don't know. They have a big passion for the business and for all of us even. They're so grateful for all of us and as we are for them. So that's what draws me to them and all you guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of the live events are just as cathartic for them as it is for us. I know Adam and especially Joe hold back on some things, but I know they take their time to vent to us just as much as we do to them.
It started out for me like being a wealth of knowledge just because their podcast they went out of their way to get a costume designer, entertainment lawyer, music producer, not just the normal what you expect with actors and directors. Like they were going out of their way to get the different jobs. So you got all this perspective of all these different things. And that's kind of like where it started for me. And then over time, hearing about different things they do and being there sometimes in person when they do this. For example, if you come up to Joe Lynch and you say, I'm an aspiring filmmaker, he'll stop you right there and go, did you shoot anything? Guess what? You're not aspiring anymore. You are a filmmaker. Now continue your conversation. Like, it's just trying to instill that confidence in you. So that way you stop going, oh, well, someday. No, you shot something. Today already started. And I like that. It's really nice that these guys are like trying to do that. Not only like encourage people, but like kind of change like the way they're thinking about what they're doing. So they take it more seriously.
I have not yet met Joe yet, but met Adam once, and I think pretty sure it was at Rock and Shock the first time I ever went to a con on the East Coast because we were living in California at the time. We just happened to be visiting my partner's birth family that we just met that year through Ancestry.com through DNA test. And the weekend that we were out just happened to be, Rock and Shock. I'm like, ooh, horror con. So we took the family, so his half brother, half sister, and two of the nephews, and we all met Kane and got a photo with him, and then they kind of went off and look at the booths and stuff. So I was, getting my autographs that I needed to get. It just so happened there was nobody at Adam's table at that time. He just talked my face off, which was great. So cool, so personable. Like I knew his work, but I didn't really know anything about him, and I definitely walked away like, okay, that's a pretty cool guy. He's definitely down with fans. Yeah.
Did you have the same reaction a lot of people do where they're like, wow, he's short?
Well, he was sitting down, so I just...
It's funny that whenever I hear that, like people always expect him to be like this like psychopath, and instead he's this nice guy that's just like normal,
Oh yeah, like you wouldn't pass him in the grocery store and think he's a horror guy. No, not at all. I was very pleasantly surprised at how personable he was. I've got a Nightmare on Elm Street poster that I have anybody that I meet from the franchise sign. So I had him sign that. And I knew of Hatchet, of course, but I did not know much about Holliston. And so I bought a couple of Holliston things. I was like, okay, all right, this guy's pretty friggin' awesome.
He really is. Joe is too. He amazes me. We hadn't seen each other in about 10 or 11 years prior to when him and Adam did Silver Screen 2023. I mean, we've stayed in touch through the podcast. I'll get a cameo or two here and there just to say hey, and he'll send me a 20-minute cameo back with his movie recommendations, what him and his wife were up to, what he's working on. And when I saw him again after all that time passed, treated me like family, like all that time didn't pass, like we just saw each other the day before. And he refers to me as his little OG because I have now known Joe and Adam for about 15 years, and they never forget that. And it means the world to me, and it's so cool to still be as passionate about that fandom as I was that first day.
I met Adam at the 2017 Rock and Shock when I had the booth there. I met Adam there, but then I saw him a few other times after. But I actually had to get on a plane and go to LA to see Joe. Just because, like, the schedules never lined up. They were nice enough to give me a tour of the studio, and that was really cool. And then since then, anytime that he's been in the area, I've had my ear to the ground and be able to, like, move heaven and earth to make sure I can go. So, but yeah, it's been wonderful meeting you guys in person and getting to seeing the studio in person was really cool. Because, like, they still have all their props around, and Adam has all the posters on the wall of all the different projects. And if ever you watch their video streams, which they do a few times a year, they do one every month for us. But if you're not a Patreon, then there's a few free ones throughout the year. And you can actually see he's got a life-size Victor Crowley, which is one of the makeups and costumes. And then another one that's Meshuggah, the Jewish Frankenstein from the Chillerama short.
Sounds like you guys have plans to try and get as many of you to the Silver Scream Con this year. It would be awesome if you guys could see if Adam and Joe could attend as well, like have just a big old reunion at the con.
Well, they were there 2 years ago. That was when the biggest group of us got together.
It's tough because a lot of us are all over the country. And even in like this, one of us is in Australia somewhere. There's two in Australia, right?
I think it's so amazing that two of our family members actually met
Yes.
as a result of Adam and Joe, fell in love and got married. How cool is that? And Jay and Lou. Yep. Moved to a different country to be with them, and they're happy as can be. And it makes my heart feel good. Sweden.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Let's talk a little bit about why you love the HorrorCon experience, what it does for you.
Family. You could go in there, not know anybody, be wearing an Evil Dead t-shirt, and the next thing you know, you have 6 new friends who love Evil Dead.
I have a full-on Ghostbusters cosplay. Backpack, traps, PKE meter, the whole thing. And I like to go in and wear that. I like looking at a lot of the cool stuff and all, but really it's when, specifically kids, it's really cool showing off all that stuff and letting them play with the toys and everything. These kids' eyes light up and it's like they're meeting their hero, even though I'm just some schlubby idiot in a costume. It's great. Like, I understand why there's groups that do that stuff in a bigger fundraising and children help way. Because it is magical seeing these kids like meet their heroes. I love doing that.
I love the cons. This doesn't have anything to do with Adam or Joe, but when I was in my early 30s, I had a bit of an existential crisis, realizing I didn't have a lot of friends. I still talked to some people from high school, and then I had my family, and that was kind of it. I found an organization called Scares That Care that used to do their own convention, got involved with them, and then that's when I really started going to that convention. I volunteer with them, and then I would also go to Monster Mania, any of the local stuff up here. And through the conventions, like Leighann said, I found a second family within the convention circuit. Just the horror cons, everybody is so friendly and welcoming, and you'll never find a more diverse group of people come together and just be instantly accepting of you.
I used to love going there just for the autographs and stuff, but now it's more of meeting my friends and just meeting people. And like, I can go to a convention now and not meet anybody, like a celebrity wise, and just walk around with my friends and hang out the entire time. And it's fun.
Okay. Well, the last question that we always ask our guests is, who is your favorite final person in a horror movie?
I gave this a lot of thought because I knew you're going to ask. There are so many, but I think I'm going to go with Grace from Ready or Not. I just feel like she's a very real character, and her reactions to everything that happened to her are very real, and she came out stronger and fiercer and just kicked ass while she was there.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the sequel.
Yeah, I'm a little worried.
Cautiously optimistic, right?
Final person. Jeez. I mean, there's so many. I guess I'm going to have to go with Jamie Lloyd from Halloween 4. I mean, the original, nothing touches that, obviously, but Halloween 4 is my favorite ending in a horror movie. Like that, just seeing her at the top of the steps in the costume and Loomis going insane, knowing it's happening all over again, even though that's not the route that they went. But yeah, that's always been my favorite ending, is the ending of Halloween 4. So I guess Jamie Lloyd from Halloween 4.
Awesome. Steve, favorite final person?
Nancy Thompson, Nightmare on Elm Street. I like her in Nightmare 3 and also New Nightmare. But the first one, I love the fact that she just like decides to go to war and like gets the book, the self-defense traps and all that, and just rigs her whole house as a death trap. Like sets up this whole thing and takes it into her own hands, and then figures out at the end that it's really her own emotions that are feeding him. So take those away and he's really nothing.
Right.
I mean, the cardboard cutout pulling the mom to the door ending, that kind of like did throw a wrench into it. But the spirit of that, like her just deciding to become the ultimate badass and set up like, you kind of wonder watching Nightmare on Elm Street how much Home Alone took from that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because like with Home Alone, you've got two bad guys that are like cartoons. You can do whatever you want to them. They don't die. And I guess it's the same thing in Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy. But like, she's really trying to hurt Freddy. She's not just trying to keep him from breaking into her house. She's trying to kill that guy. And it's pretty cool.
I think you guys will all guess. I'm going to say Mary Beth Dunstan from the Hatchet movies. I just think it's amazing how she keeps fighting, knowing that Victor's real when nobody believes her. And she knows what she saw. She knows her brother and her dad are missing, and she's going to go to any length to stop Victor from claiming any more lives, no matter what people think.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this. As I mentioned before, it's always awesome making new friends. I feel like I've got 4 new friends today. And yeah, we'll have to keep in touch because I definitely want to meet up in person.
I just want to say thank you for what you guys are doing. It's so important to get that out there. And I love that we got to be a part of this.
It's been so rewarding just hearing people's stories and people's bravery, and just, it's great. All the good feels. Man, that was exactly what this show is about. Leighann, Vinnie, Amber, and Steve are proof that horror isn't just about surviving. It's about belonging. This is what happens when fandom turns into family. And honestly, that's what makes the horror community so special. We show up for each other. We support each other. We go from internet strangers to lifelong friends, all because of a shared love for slashers, monsters, and the people who bring them to life.
I wasn't in this one, but listening to Corey and this group, it just hits home. We talk a lot about how horror can be a safe space, a place where you can be yourself, find your people, and just exist without judgment. And this episode is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, and if you're listening thinking, damn, I wish I had that kind of horror family, guess what? You do. It's out there. Maybe at the next HorrorCon, maybe in a live chat, maybe even right here in the Horror Heals community. So tell us your story. Who's your horror crew? What movie, what filmmaker, what moment brought you together? Hit us up on social, tag us, send us a message. We want to hear from you. And huge thanks again to Leighann, Vinnie, Amber, and Steve. You guys are the real deal, and we cannot wait to see what horror-fueled adventures you get up to next. And to everyone listening, keep loving horror, keep finding your people, and as always,
if someone asks you, is horror good for mental wellness? You tell them, of course it is. The Horror Heals podcast is produced and presented by How the Cow Ate the Cabbage, LLC.